Hi boys, this is our next flipped lesson and this is going to be based on the kidney. So we're basically going to be looking at the structure of the kidney and explaining its role in homeostasis. So how does it maintain the water levels in your blood, and then how does it remove any harmful waste from your body. Just as last time, take some notes as we go along, and we'll run through this very quickly in class and then look at the structure of the nephrons and specifically how they filter the waste from your blood. And just a cute little cartoon there as well. I don't know if you guys know Hello Kitty. If you've got a younger sister, maybe she'll know, but Hello Kidney. Right, let's get started. Alright, so as I said before, the role of the kidney is to maintain water levels in your blood and to also remove any harmful waste, as that can have an adverse effect on your health. So looking at the first word that we have over here, so we've got osmoregulation. So osmo means water, and then regulation means control. So basically osmoregulation is controlling the water levels in your blood, and that is the function of your kidney. As we've said before, water is essential for life. It makes up about 70% of your body, and you can last about up to 3 days without taking in any water before you die. The reason that it's so important is because it is the solvent for many salts, sugars, and gases in your body. So as we said when we spoke about breathing, that the gases, carbon dioxide and oxygen, are not going to be able to get in and out of your blood unless they're dissolved first. So without water, that process can't happen. It's also really important because it's a large proportion of our blood. That's what actually makes the blood liquid in your plasma. And another function of it in terms of the blood is to help maintain your blood pressure. So if your blood pressure is too high or low, that has a bad effect on your body. And then finally, just for your cells contain cytoplasm, and a large proportion of that is water. So any reaction that needs to take place to keep your body functioning and to keep your body alive happens in those cells, and water is needed for those reactions to occur. So very, very important feature in our body that needs to be kept within a specific level. Otherwise, you can have dehydration, and then that can eventually kill you. So as we said, the removal of waste is important. We've already spoken about carbon dioxide, and the problem with carbon dioxide is that it dissolves in water and forms carbonic acid, which then increases the acidity of your blood. So it needs to be removed to help keep you healthy and keep you functioning, because it affects the enzymes. When it comes to other waste, urea is the big one that is then removed through your urine. There are 3 major food groups, carbohydrates and fats. Both of those are used for energy, and if there is an excess of either carbohydrates or fats, that's fine because they can be stored in your body. The other product that we need is protein, and that's basically for growth and repairing. Protein is really important, but if there's an excess, it's actually quite bad for your body. It's toxic, and that's because it contains nitrogen. So your body can't store this. It needs to get rid of it. This happens in your liver. So your liver is going to convert the protein into urea, which is a less harmful form of the protein, but it still contains nitrogen, so it needs to be gotten rid of. So what your liver will then do is release the urea into your blood, and that gets sent to your kidneys to get filtered out, and that is what exits your body when you go to the toilet, when you urinate. So you can see this person over here desperately needing the toilet. So we need to get rid of that waste because a buildup of urea is toxic and it actually affects the acidity of your blood. So I'm just going to run through the structure of the urinary system, and I'm going to be talking about specific features and explaining how they help your body to remove waste from the blood and then to expel it as well. So blood enters your kidney, or moves towards your kidney through this main vessel over here, which is called the aorta. So it's going to be delivering oxygenated blood to the kidney. It has oxygen inside it because the kidney is going to remove oxygen so that it can perform respiration, but it also has waste that the kidney is then going to be filtering out. This then branches off into the renal artery, and that's going to be delivering the blood to each kidney. Once in the kidney, and you have 2 of them over here, once in the kidney, the blood is going to be filtered, and that's to remove any waste, which specifically we want to get rid of the urea, but also to help maintain the water balance in your blood. Once the blood has been filtered, it is going to exit through this blood vessel over here, which we call the renal vein. And as you can notice, the color of the blood has changed from red to blue, and that's giving you an indication that it is now deoxygenated blood because oxygen has been removed by the kidney. It is then going to exit through this structure over here, which is called the vena cava. And the vena cava is a blood vessel that is going to take the oxygenated blood back to the heart so that it can be sent to the lungs to become oxygenated again. And in that process of moving back to the heart and going to the lungs, it's going to be picking up more urea and then come back to the kidney to be filtered out again. Once the kidney removes water and it removes the urea, we can now call that substance urine. So the urine is going to move down these two tubes over here. There's one for each kidney, and those two tubes are called ureters. They're basically going to be transporting the urine to this structure over here, which is called the bladder. And in the bladder, you're going to store the urine until you are ready to expel it, and that means that you have to go to the toilet. To stop the bladder from continuously emptying, there is a muscle on the bottom over here called the sphincter muscle. And once you are ready to go to the toilet, that muscle relaxes, and then we have the urine being released, and it's released through this tube over here on the bottom, which is called the urethra. All right, apologies for the awful writing. It's really hard to write on this touchscreen. So that's the structure of the urinary system. Right, so we're now going to look at the structure of the kidney, and there are three main parts that you need to know about. These are the cortex, the medulla, and the renal pelvis. The outer part of the kidney is called the cortex, and this is where we have the ultrafiltration of the blood occurring. Basically, we remove a lot of water, remove a lot of salts from the blood, and it goes into the kidney to then become part of the urine. The color of the cortex is a reddish-brown color, and that's to do with a lot of capillaries that are present in that part of the kidney. The capillaries start off as the renal artery, which is bringing the oxygenated blood that has waste in it that needs to be removed. The artery branches off, over here you can see, into smaller blood vessels and then eventually into capillaries. So the reason that the blood needs to now be traveling in capillaries is because the capillaries are so thin, and we can have the movement of water, the movement of salts out of the blood into the kidney so that they can then be removed out of the body as urine. The next part is these little structures over here, which are called the medulla. So they are not as dark as the cortex, they're much paler in color, and that is purely to do with the fact that there are less capillaries in that part of the kidney. In the medulla, we basically are going to have the reabsorption of water. So this is where your body makes sure that the water concentration of your blood is where it should be. So depending on whether you're dehydrated or whether you've drunk a lot of water, that is where the balance is maintained. Any water that's been removed, along with the urea, along with any salts that need to be removed, then travel into these little pale structures over here, which we called the renal pelvis. And they basically act as a funnel, removing any of the urine that's been produced, and it funnels it out into the ureter so that it can be sent to the bladder. So I've got this slide here because it just summarizes the main functions of each of the parts that I spoke about in our previous slide. More than welcome to take some notes from this slide. Right, my final slide is just a summary of everything that we've gone through. So the kidneys are basically compact bean-shaped structures. You have two of them in your body, and their function is to produce urine by filtering out urea, which is a nitrogenous waste. That means that it contains nitrogen because it is toxic to your body. Just got some pictures to show you as well, so if you're a bit squeamish, you might want to look away now or end the video. This structure over here is showing you an operation where they are working on the person's kidney. So they're lying on their side, so they're able to do this, and you can see that's the kidney over there. Very little fat around this organ, so it's quite delicate. So you may have seen boxes or something getting punched in the kidney, and that would mean that they would start to have some blood in their urine. The next slide, this is a kidney that's been removed from a human being. So you can see there, fairly large structure, probably a little bit smaller than your fist. And the next one is just showing the internal structure of the kidney. So we can see that we've got our cortex over there. We will have our medulla over there, and then the renal pelvis will be the bits in the middle. So that's the PowerPoint slide, and I will see you guys on Monday, where we're going to look at the structure of nephrons and explain in detail how we actually have the removal of waste from the blood. Thanks.